I've been bamboozled. Hey guys, Natalie Barton here. Welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to talk about how I got bamboozled by the Cloud Dentistry app. Okay, so when I quit my job in January, I was debating whether I was going to stick with hygiene or if I was going to do something else with my life. And decided after COVID hit so strongly that I should go back in and help as much as I could. And you really can't beat the hygiene money, right? You just can't. So anyway, I've been temping since January. And the reason I decided to sign up with the Cloud Dentistry app and not with like a temp agency like I did when I initially got out of school was because there are certain offices I refuse to work with, mostly corporate. Now, those offices specifically are Perfect Teeth, Bright Now Dental. I don't like the Dental One offices. If you guys are familiar with those, are a much higher standard, much higher quality, but they usually shove too much stuff into like an initial visit. And I do find that, well, at least in the past, that their offices are also very production based. So those, because of that, I was like, well, with Cloud Dentistry, I can say yes or no, and I can, look at the offices ahead of time, see everybody else's ratings of them, and then decide if I want to work there or not. So up until last week, I'd had a perfect record. I had worked for 100% of the offices that had asked me to work for them, which is now down to 93%, which really ticks me off. But anyway, so the reason for that is last week I got called into an office from the manager I've worked with on a couple other offices, and it is Dental One offices. And again, not a huge fan of Dental One, but it's way better than some of the others. They pay well, the people are usually nice. I just don't like the production part of it. But overall, they seem to have kind of relaxed that a little bit. And, I've had some good experiences through Cloud Dentistry with these people. However, I did talk to one recently, one of the dentists worked for these guys recently, and she was saying that Dental One has been bought out by a company out east who also bought Perfect Teeth. Now, that should have been a warning to me because, she and I talked about it because it was like, well, maybe, I hope the standards on the Dental One offices won't go down. I hope the Perfect Teeth will come up, because you walk into a Perfect Teeth office and the instruments are crap. The office is usually dirty. The equipment is old. And the people there are kind of there for their paycheck. Like I'm not even convinced they like dentistry typically. So having quit temping 10 years ago, 11 years ago, however long it's been, I guess 11 years ago, I just went, you know what, I'm never going back to a Perfect Teeth again as long as I live. I have seen them rip off patients. I have seen them do crazy stuff. And again, I've never seen offices as filthy. And I'm talking like dirt on the floor, spiders crawling around, rust everywhere, instruments broken. Like I've never, So I promised my soul that I would never step foot in another one of those offices. Last week, I took a job offer from a manager who works again with Dental One. I've worked with them previously on Dental One offices. No big deal. I get to the office in the morning, and it's up by like a King Soopers, and I pull in, and I went, Perfect Teeth. No! So, not kidding. I drove around the parking lot. It's one of those big, strip mall parking lots. Drove around the parking lot. Please let there be another dental office here. Please help me not to break this promise I made to myself all these years ago that I would never go in one of these offices again. Nope. That's the one I'd signed up for. I triple checked the address. And I was like, oh, fine, whatever. It's one day, right? That's what we always tell ourselves. It's 1 hour, one patient, one day. You can do this. So I grabbed my stuff, walked inside. The lobby looked okay, but she got me back into the room, and the room was set up for a left-handed hygienist. And they had me come in what I would consider late. Like I like to be there 15 minutes to 30 minutes early to get a feel for the office, how they chart, how they, what their COVID measures are. Are they doing the pre-rinsing? Are they doing blood pressures? Are they doing, I have questions I need to ask, as well as what computer program are you on? How many, when you say bite wings, does that mean 4? Does that mean 7? Does that mean an FMX? You know, like, what does an FMX mean? There are questions I have to ask, and then I need to look at the schedule to see what I'm doing. So if there's any other questions that are going to come up, I can deal with that. Anyway, they had me come in like 10 minutes prior to seeing my first patient. So she walks me in, casually walks me to the back, where I can put my stuff away. You can work out of one of these 2 rooms, whatever you want to. The first room is set up left-handed. I'm looking at my watch. I do not have time to switch this to a right-handed room because there was a lot of stuff over on the one side that needed to be over on my side. And I went, okay, I don't have time. Maybe later in the day I can switch that room over because it did look like a nicer room. So I went to the other room and I started setting up in there. And I mean, first things first, the towel dispenser didn't work. The soap dispenser didn't work. There was no hand sanitizer in the building that I could find. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Lick my hands and see patients? Like, how am I supposed to wash my hands? Just plain water? Like, what? So she comes in, oh, the batteries are just dead in here. I'm like, how did the batteries not go dead and you not know both of the batteries are dead? When was the last time you used this room? Anyway, the things I'm like asking her in my head, I'm not actually saying out loud. And I walk in, so I'm sitting down, the patient's already here. She's like, aren't you ready yet? I'm like, no. She hands me this weird printout of the day, and I don't know where the sensors are hung. I don't, so I'm trying to figure all this stuff out and just orient myself, because once I know where things are at, patients don't even know I haven't been there for the whole time. Like, I get questions all the time. Oh, how long have you been here? And I'll go, oh, I'm just temping, and they're like, what? I try not to say that up front because it freaks people out. If you tell them, well, I've been a hygienist for 13 years, okay, they calm down. But I try to never start the conversation with, hi, I'll be your hygienist today, and I've only been in the office 5 minutes before you have, because that does not build confidence. So, anywho, long story short, instruments were broken. I picked up the very first probe to do a probing. The first 3 millimeters of the probe were sheared off and sharp, and I went, you gotta be kidding me. So she runs and grabs me a new probe. And then, what else? I mean, there were bent instruments. Every instrument I had was like a sickle, and if you guys are not in dentistry yet, you don't know what a sickle is, you can watch my video, actually, on dental instruments. But a sickle has a blade on both sides, so it looks like this, whereas like a Gracie will have one side with a blade and one side will be for the tissue, so it's dull, so you don't like tear everybody's gums to pieces. Anyway, but everything that they had in these packets had been sharpened to little tiny needles, not even sickles, like they were needles. And I was so afraid I was gonna break some of them off in people's gums, but so instruments were broken or too sharp. The place was filthy. Like, there was dirt on the floor in the corners and dust bunnies the size of actual rabbits and rust in the sink, and the chair itself was just, it had so many tears in it. Like, I would come in and I'd look at that and I'd be like, nope, and I'd walk back. Like, I wouldn't even be a patient there. Like, So it lived up to their old reputation from what I remembered. The dentist was very nice, but really not interested in his job. The assistant was also a temp. That should tell you something. And it was funny, actually, we both had the same first name. We were both Natalies. I'm like, what are the odds of that? Like, I just don't run into other Natalies. So it was a day. I was tempted at lunch to leave, honestly. Like, the patients were nice, although I did 4 scaling and root planings that day, and as you guys know, my hands do not handle scaling and root planings very well anymore. I can do 1 or 2 a week, 4 in a day, and actually last week I think I did 7 total. It was a rough week last week for my hands. So I stayed, I did my full day, and then they immediately tried to book me for 2 more days at that office, and then 1 more day at another Perfect Teeth in a different town. And now that I know, like when you get on the app and you look up these offices, it doesn't always tell you. Usually it has like a little informational area on the office and where they're at and da-da-da. So I actually had to get on Google Maps and look up this new one and take the little camera and be like, okay, it's another Perfect Teeth, because they don't have their Perfect Teeth labeled, and I think they're doing that for a reason, because they can't get temps to work there for a good reason. So I turned all 3 of those jobs down, which would have been this week's work, which is bad because I haven't gotten anything else. Don't tell my husband. But, you know, it doxed my acceptance rate on the app, which sucks because it doesn't make me look like as good of a worker. Like, I shouldn't be penalized for saying no, especially when I have standards for care. And then you're supposed to rate these people. Like, when you get done, you rate them with a star review, and then you could put in details if you'd like. And I didn't put any details down, but I did put it down as a 4-star. In my heart, it's a 2-star, but I don't like doing that to people because the people that work there were nice. They did try and be helpful. You know, I will be fair, but at the same time, you know, so it's more of a reminder to me when I give somebody a 4-star instead of a 5-star that I really don't want to go back. So anything under a 5-star is reminder, Natalie, don't go back to that office. Don't accept any jobs from them. And so far I haven't had to, but this time, you know, and it's biting me in the butt because I haven't gotten any other job offers. And I was like, well, you know, do you take it because it's money, or do you sell your soul? And I just couldn't do it. So anyway, I felt like I got bamboozled because on the app it said Dental 1, and I went, okay, I've had good experiences with those offices so far, and then it turned out to be Perfect Teeth, and that just made me angry. So be aware. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week. Good to see you again. Like and subscribe. Keep brushing, keep flossing. Take care, and I'll see you next time.